And welcome back to FPRK Radio Podcast. That's Fuck Politics, Religion, and Kanye West, the podcast where we talk about all the things that tear us apart, all the things we're not supposed to be talking about at work, at the barbecue, in front of the family, at a little party and shit, you know what I mean? You're supposed to keep it light. Supposed to keep it light. This is Fuck Politics, Religion, and Kanye. There's so much to talk about this week. Kanye specific, non-Kanye specific, all over. There's shit going on with the Vatican, all this other shit.
Yeah.
So we're going to dive right into it. This week I'm joined by special guest Asher Gardner. What's up,
Asher Kai for the viewers.
Sorry, Asher. Asher Kai. You gotta let artists art.
Yeah.
So we've got Asher Kai here. Welcome.
Thanks
First of all, welcome.
I'm finally glad to be on here. You know?
You're in the new reign of this podcast. I'm expanding out beyond comics because everyone has an opinion. And you are a photographer, videographer, director.
Yeah, dabbling with everything. I would say like just creatively do a little bit of graphic design too. You know, website design.
Sorry. Yeah, throw that in there too.
Oh, you know, I gotta plug myself.
If you don't, who the fuck will? You feel me?
We talk about Kanye in this podcast. I learned it from Kanye,
bruh. We'll get into the deep life lessons of Kanye a little bit later in the podcast because there's so many, and the fact that we as a society have tried to ignore Kanye's influence for whatever. We'll get into that shit. We'll go into that.
Oh, we're gonna get into it. We're gonna get into it today.
Go into that. Everyone's feeling good. Everyone's feeling light. The stimmy's hit.
I feel like Stimmy Neutron out here. You feel me?
Stimmy Neutron. I don't talk about whether I got the stimmy or not because I don't need people to know my status.
Shit, you know, I already bought my yacht with mine. So
you did, right? Yeah.
Catch me in the marina.
Niggas is coming up. How you feel about the stimmy? Like, I mean, obviously everybody feel good when a little bit of money hit they John.
I feel like the stimmy matches what people on Twitter treat it as, and it's a fucking joke.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, it's for single people like me, you know, it's only $1,400. I don't know about the rest of y'all, but that's like 1 month of rent. So these niggas was arguing to let us have 1 month of rent.
For 3 months of rent.
These niggas was arguing for about 3 months for like 1 month of rent. So it's kind of like, thanks.
Right.
But like, all right.
Like, yeah, while y'all was talking about it, shit
so
accrued.
damn long.
Yeah. Like, shit accrued. So now your $1,400 ain't enough, and it wasn't enough when you talked about it the first time.
Exactly. So
that's how. Yeah, I mean, I deeply. It's one of those things like the $15 minimum wage, which we're not getting. But when they started talking about the $15 minimum wage, which was 4 years ago or before. The $15 minimum wage was barely enough then. That was like, let's get people to the bare minimum.
Yeah.
And then they spent 4 or 5 years talking about it. Now they're still talking about this $15 minimum wage. And you're like, well, nigga, in the time y'all talked, we further.
inflation.
Right.
See, they know about inflation, but they
like,
ain't trying to tell us about inflation.
I feel like every like major issue that we're talking about politically, especially in terms of poverty or, you know, just general need, are exigent circumstances for people. It's people being like, this is what I need, this right now. I need this today. And they're like, all right, we're going to talk about it for a couple months and we might get it to you. And like, I'm like, I told you it was exigent. Now it's dire. So, I mean, like, it's a joke. Do you consider this whole administration a joke?
So like with me, you know, honestly, anything's a step up from the last one. And the stuff that, you know, Democrats ran on and Biden ran on, I feel like early on they're addressing it, and it's gonna take some time for us to like really know if they hold themselves true to what they're saying. And I feel like they're off to a good start from it being like about a month and a half, 2 months in, minus the stimmy. But like that was gonna be a joke regardless, because like honestly, I feel like they did what they could because Republicans ain't trying to give shit.
So you're one of those.
I'm an optimist. Yes, I'm an optimist.
You're a give them time.
So we're 2 months in. You know what I'm saying? And like they talk about a lot of the things that Joe Biden mentioned. Like, you know, a lot of things he's been doing in the first 100 days. Like now I'm fucking drawing a blank off the top of my head, but yeah, I feel like a lot of the things that I voted for him for, because I did vote for him. they're at least starting to address, and I feel like with the way that Congress is set up and the Senate versus the House, like they got no excuses. So if like in 2 years we still talking about the same shit at primaries and the midterms, then I'm gonna be on niggas' head.
And I'll give you this. I am starting, because I'm like a skeptic. Just hold these niggas to the fire until, you know what I mean. I've seen some things. Like he kind of changed the guidelines for drones recently, which I thought they should have made a bigger deal of, but they didn't. Because we'll see how we use it. And basically, like, I don't know if you like, because they didn't report this heavy in the news, but like, Obama ran wild with drones.
Oh, for sure.
And Trump used that shit too, and we just didn't really talk about it. And now Joe Biden, he did use the drones in Syria, but he reined back like who could call drone strikes, which is maybe a good thing. I mean, if he just resigned it to the executive branch and still was like, we can use it.
Yeah, I didn't hear about that, but that's a good point, because this is like someone talked to my homie about the other day, and like, is it legal? Like, really? No, like under the Constitution?
No, it's super illegal. It's so illegal.
But Bush set a precedent, and every single president that followed after has just been like,
oh yeah,
fuck it, no one's gonna check it.
Bush set a precedent, and Obama pushed that precedent to the
don't ever get it twisted.
edge.
Obama is deported the most people, and he drone strike the most people.
Right.
But at the end of the day, I'm still Team Obama all the day.
See, I'll be like, if a Republican or a white person is talking shit on Obama, I'd be like, hold up. But if a Democrat starts talking about Obama, I'm like, nah, nigga, we got to talk about all the issues that he had.
Oh, side note, peep this. I saw it today, and like coming on, I knew I was gonna be on the podcast. I knew I had to mention this. Did you see that George Bush is coming out with a book about immigration?
No.
I don't know exactly what the book is about, but the fact that George Bush is writing a book about immigration and how we can reform it is absolutely hilarious to me. It's the funniest thing ever.
Here's the thing. George Bush is going to have as much insight. I'll take a book from George Bush as much as I'll take a book from Obama. Because Obama, like, we all know he's the porter in chief, right? I was out there in the days before. He's the porter in chief. George Bush was a deporter too, not as much as Obama. He deported a lot, and he was a governor of a border state. So even if his insight is wrong, his insight will be from a perspective of someone who's had to deal with a border. He was a governor of a border state. So like, I'll be like, I'm not going to be like, I agree with what he's saying.
Yeah, I'm not saying I'm going to read it, but like, I just thought that was fun. Like, it's ironic. Like, with so much bullshit going on in the world these days, sometimes you just got to look at a story, like, not take it to heart. It's like, that's fucking ironic.
Hilarious.
That's
it's
ironic.
Funny. It's like the Penn State coach writing a book called Touch. It's like, oh, let me tell you about my deal with young boys. It's called Touched, and then he touched a bunch of boys. You're like, oh, okay, yeah. It's like the reverse version of that.
Yeah, kind of.
It's the absolute reverse. But I think and George Bush is an interesting person to bring up because as we're talking about like Biden being better than Trump, and then in the face of Trump, Bush Bush doesn't seem that bad anymore to people.
Yeah, now he's Uncle Bush, Uncle George.
Like, and I'm like, honestly, to me, the things that George Bush did were worse than anything that Trump did. I mean, like, Trump did his whole, like, all his racist rhetoric and all that's real terrible, and the effects of that are terrible, and they can't be quantified. But Bush started 2 wars that we're still like trying to get out of, dealing with the effects of today. Bush was Patriot Act. Bush was, a few different things that set really dangerous precedences for the United States. And now, like you say, Uncle Bush, Michelle be hanging out with him.
Yeah,
like,
they be going on picnics and shit.
Oh, Bush, but at least he's not Trump. And da-da-da. And I'm like, all right, so like,
where's the bar at?
Right. And there's no fucking bar. There's not a bar at all. And my issue with it is, I am a progressive. Hardcore. Like, that's it, right? Just no matter who I'm talking to, I'm like, I'm a progressive.
Yeah.
Which is like beyond the little bullshit that we're talking about. So I think everything we're talking about, I'm like, nah, this is easy shit. Like, we can feed everybody. We can give everyone health care. I'm trying to get to fucking space. Like I'm trying like
like that Dave Chappelle episode. Y'all up here talking to me about this, that, and third. What about Mars?
Yeah,
I'm trying to go to Mars,
nigga. Yeah. But like that's like basically where I am. So when we're like arguing over like
$1,400.
right. Yeah, and we're arguing over and like you live in downtown Los Angeles. That $1,400, I'm like, all right, my nigga, like,
yeah,
take care of these streets. $1,400 ain't gonna do shit. Like, there's no plan. Like, I feel like every day, everyone in Los Angeles, not just downtown, but like everyone in Los Angeles is like, it's a takeover. It's a takeover.
Yeah.
And like I want to, and those are easy issues to me, right? Like I'm like, we can solve those. We can feed, house, and get health care for whoever needs it, right? Because everyone has different issues. Some people just need housing. Some people just need, not just need, right?
Good jobs too, not like, they
ain't getting no good jobs.
Yeah.
You talk to the 70-year-old dude out there who don't even know how to work a computer, spent 30 years in jail, and be like, get a job. And he's like, where am I? They're like, Walmart's not gonna hire me.
We ain't doing no factories anymore, but America don't make shit.
Yeah.
It's hard. And like, that's like one of the leading causes of like this massive wealth difference, like this wealth gap increase, because a lot of these people that are older, they didn't grow up with computers and stuff like we did. So like I try to take a coding class. My brother, master coder, that's what he does, computer software engineer. I tried to take a coding class. I failed twice after taking it once,
right.
Took it again,
and
failed again.
We young. And he's like, and it's like old niggas out here, and they're like, they need to get a job. And I'm like, please tell me who is going to hire him.
Yeah.
Like after I dry him out, get him a place, clean him up, are you going to hire him? And to do what? Against what job market? Like against how many people trying to do what? And
so what are your thoughts on like universal income?
I love universal income. I love you. I have a blog. It's like the first blog post that I wrote. It was back in 2007 or 2008. It's called Ramblings of a Harmless Revolutionary. Don't exist anymore.
Okay.
But my first post was basically, I didn't know it was called Universal Basic Income. But it was like, I will pay somebody not to come rob me. Right? You want niggas to not sell drugs? You want people to not scam? You want people to not do this? Pay them to just chill.
Yo, that's like how Lil Baby got started rapping. Gunna was paying him to stop trapping and come to the studio.
Right, like that.
Like and they talked about it before, and like, that's universal income.
Yeah, and that's like there's people out there that would be like, yo, I don't want to do this, but this is what I have to do.
Right.
And the first rule, at least in America, if not the world, before don't break crimes, don't do this. The first rule is get money, like survive.
Yeah.
That is the first rule. And everyone is trying to just cover their basic needs from the jump. So if I do that, it's not going to take care of everybody. Some niggas want to shine. Some people want to just do bad shit. Some people want to do all that.
Yeah.
But some people are just trying to eat. So I'm like, if I can cover that, yeah, it's not going to take care of everything. But at least those people that it does take care of, it reduces it by that.
Yeah. So
I'm okay with that. And we're most of our society, not most of our society, but there's a decent amount of people whose jobs have been displaced.
Yeah.
So for them to go, all right, my job's been displaced, instead of just being like, well, you shit out of luck, go live in the street.
Yeah.
Your job was displaced, but the money that cost to pay you wasn't. It's still there. It's just going to one person now instead of you.
I never thought about it like that. But no, I'm a fan of it too. There's this some town in like Oregon, like they be doing all this progressive shit up there, but they tried it and like did like a year study, and they found that like people that were getting it, the average like full-time employed people jumped by like 10% in a year. So it's like, obviously the shit works, because and people were saying like I felt less stressed, because you don't think about that. You don't think about like people don't think like, oh well, if they want to eat, get a job, I was like blah, but like what about the stress of getting up every day and you gotta feed your kids, you don't know how it's gonna happen. That shit will make motherfuckers like want to go rob you.
So depressing,
That'll
right?
Make motherfuckers want to go rob you. So
I gotta go do this, right?
Yeah.
I can't. I wake up every day with this shit. How am I gonna feed my kids? How I'm gonna do this? How I'm gonna do this? I'm desperate. The little job you offer me over here ain't even going to pay for my kids, right? So I'm going to be away from my family for most of the time, trying to make some money that's not even going to cover my family.
Right.
Why wouldn't you go scam and scheme? Now, if you're taking it for free and you get to spend time with your family, right? You might have time to figure out exactly what you want to do.
Yeah.
Not go rob anyone. Find meaningful work to yourself, which is really important. I think I do workers' comp, and like a common phrase in that is like, work gives people dignity. The studies show that people who go to work every day have dignity and da-da-da-da-da. But that's for specific jobs. Like, not everybody finds dignity in going to work. Some people find their job to be
just to go.
Right. Like, I have to go.
Yeah.
So I'm big on that. I'm big on people not going to jobs that they don't want to do. Nobody should work doing something. I don't want someone doing something that they don't want to do because they're going to do a bad job.
Yeah. That's why you see somebody like yelling at a fast food worker like, nigga, let's see you try to flip burgers all day for fucking pennies. Like, you
don't give a shit.
I'm gonna throw some ketchup on your fries or whatever. Like, I'm not gonna care that much either. But like, but there are also those people that like just take pride in the fact that they are being gainfully employed. And like you said, like, yeah, work gives pride because at least you can take care of what you got.
Right. And I think everyone takes that differently. And there's some people that go. It's the people that, thinking about winning the lottery. And some people go, I would go back to work still because what am I going to do?
Yeah.
That's the person I want working. That's the person I want to go to work.
Yeah.
Because they're taking pride in their work. They're like, this is my job. I'm going to do what I do. And da-da-da-da-da. And the person that goes, I'm literally only here for the paycheck. I don't give a fuck about this job. I'm going to do the bare minimum at this job to not get fired. And as soon as I can get out of here, I'm gone. It's a person. If you're an artist, right? You don't want nobody working on your team like that. No. You want someone passionate about being there because they're going to do a good job. And that's where everyone should be.
Because, like, unless you want to do it, like, there's going to be times where you're working long fucking hours all day, like 17-hour days. And, like, when you're at that last, like, that last stretch, you don't have people quitting on you when you're trying to get the shit right.
Because they're not in it.
Yeah, and then, like, you look at it after, like, oh, yeah, I'm so glad, like, we all locked in and got that done. But, like, if you were to quit and, like, it didn't come out perfect, then it's just, like, well, I just wasted 17 hours then, rather than wasting 2 hours.
And the person that's there doing that bullshit job is only there because they need to be there for money.
Yeah.
But if they didn't need to be there for money, there's 10 other people that wanted that job, that applied for that job, that were passionate about that job, that would have done that job. You had to get bamboozled by some nigga that had to lie to you so he could work.
So I guess the free internship craze, what do you feel about that?
All right, so I'm not a fan of free internships. Mm-hmm. I understand them. Mm-hmm. I'm not like I did internships when I got out here. You Jamaican, my dad Jamaican. My dad was
one. Good one. Bing, 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 bing.
And it was like, what? But I was like, I had an internship when I was in law school, and I was like, yeah, so I'm doing this internship, and my dad was like, what you mean internship? You working for free? That's what you're doing. And I'm like, no, but Dad, I got to learn. It's a tight industry, and people want to get in. And anyone, he's like, you working for free. That's all you're doing, right? And I think, I think of it like college basketball players. If you're making money off of me, then I should make some money.
Oh, they're getting paid though.
They taking it on the low.
On the low. Yeah, they feel the ball out. Like, I want to see fucking college basketball players showing up to games with gold chains, fucking all tatted up. Like, I want to see that shit rather than like these fucking sponsors and all these whack. Like, put the money back in them. Like, and like being a former college athlete, I didn't play that long, but I'm off on not the whole time I was in college, but like, yo, there was some long days of like working and like I didn't play the D1 level, but I can only imagine how much harder it is at that level.
Oh, no, it's a job.
Pay these men.
Mm-hmm. But the whole school showing up, you know what I mean? They got jerseys. They selling out tickets. The whole town's in on it. And these niggas just going out there. And then if they get hurt,
they done.
He ain't even learned nothing because he had some white girl doing his homework and shit for him. So now he's stupid because he ain't learned nothing. And maybe that's a little bit on them, but that's also on, like, you know what I mean, how they're lifted up.
But yeah, because like you were saying, out of college, like you had to do a free internship, and I did one too. I interned at this studio because I'm from Jersey, so shout out South Jersey,
Blah, blah.
I was working at this studio, interning, going to school, doing like 4 classes a day, and then working at this other job for the state. Like, and those days were crazy. Yeah, and I can only imagine. And like, I was living at home still, so like I didn't have like crazy bills and things like that, but I can only imagine someone that like has to take care of themselves all the time, and they have to be the main breadwinner. So like, how are they supposed to balance doing this free internship, going to school, working, and also at the same time building their own career and future? Because like really, I can't speak for like every other industry, but like creatively, you got to be working on your own stuff to really like get to that next level.
It takes so much out of you. Like people act like it's so easy to be like, all right, you work all 8 hours a day or more, right?
Yeah.
Not including your
Commute,
right? Yeah,
shit like that, lunchtime, because niggas want to make you stay there, but we're not going to pay you, but
Right.
you're going to be here.
and then it's like, and then you're supposed to go home and work on your dreams. It's like, yo, niggas is tired. And
Yeah.
that's not even just tired. They might have a family. They might have other shit that they got to do. It's
It's not
so
just physically tired, it's mentally tired too.
mentally exhausted. So I deeply agree with people being allowed to get a universal basic and that frees motherfuckers. Like people hate automation and robots
Yeah, they're
taking
afraid of
jobs.
that.
And I'm like, no, that's what it's supposed to do.
Because like in my opinion, that leads us to like really. So I've been thinking about it because they're starting to pop up more and more. More and more industries are taking advantage of that. And I say taking advantage because I feel like that money that they're saving using these robots, it should go back to the people.
Right.
Because like, isn't that the whole point of life is like enjoyment? So like, I know people don't enjoy some of these jobs that these robots are taking, but at the end of the day, like, yeah, these robots are taking these jobs that people don't. I just messed that up. But yeah, these robots are taking these jobs that people don't enjoy. So like, yeah, like pay them so these robots can do it, and you're not losing any money, like you said earlier.
Right.
The money just going to a different person. So like, let's not let that person get it. That's already rich, already doesn't have to worry. Let's let these people get it that just lost their job,
Right.
Because
of you.
Yeah.
Right. And like you could even the savings that they make and not having, because we act like it's just like the employment of this person, but it's not just the employment of this person. They're also saving on insurance and losing employees, staffing space for them to take breaks. Like there's a lot of cost that goes into employing people that they can take.
This man's a lawyer, y'all. Work and you do some work on comp stuff.
You know what I mean? So if you want to even just go, all right, we're gonna pay you what we was paying you. You're still saving and making money on what you took away. So it's like, you took their job. So just go ahead, you pay back into this universal bank, and we can have niggas following their dreams and being a happier society. So while we're on sharing amongst the world, one person who I thought might have been a share, who might have been for universal basic income, Jesus.
He made a town off of one loaf of bread.
He was all about that shit. Yeah, one loaf of bread and fish. Let's make it happen. And in a country full of Christians who don't appreciate that at all, just be like, "You a Christian and work hard for yourself or starve and die."
Yeah.
Are you a religious person?
I grew up religious, definitely.
Didn't we all? Were you Jehovah's Witness?
No, I was
Okay.
Baptist.
All right, a lot of Jehovah's Witnesses are, Jamaicans.
Yeah, but no, I was a Baptist. A lot of still devouts in my family. I'm gonna say I've fallen off the bandwagon.
Yeah,
Fallen off the bandwagon.
I've been on the bandwagon. They kicked me off.
So yeah, last few years, like I don't really. I wouldn't call myself a Christian.
Yeah,
I believe in people and like facts.
I've said that a lot. Like I believe in people
and facts.
Facts.
And some certain facts you just can't deny.
Certain. All right. So okay, I've come a little bit away from, and I guess I don't want to say facts, because I'm still on facts. Like anything that I tell you is a fact because it happened to me, right? So I'm like, here's the facts. I'm like, all right, facts. Even science doesn't disprove anything that I ever talk about. Like I always think one of my favorite books is the Dalai Lama wrote a book called The Universe in a Single Atom. And it's about his studies in physics and how it coincides with his beliefs. And basically he's like, I believe that my religion and my beliefs should absolutely match up with science. And to the point that they don't match up with science, I need to question the beliefs and so like they should go hand in hand. There's no reason that the things that we are factually looking at on Earth should
Yeah.
be like, well, this doesn't agree with the book. Well, then the book is wrong, my nigga. Like that's
Yeah, and like I studied like my freshman year of college. I wanted to be an architect before anything, so like I took a lot of science classes and stuff like that. Obviously, didn't do too good because I didn't take pictures of people. But
I do comedy and I have like 7 degrees. Don't matter.
but
And I'm a genius.
I had this one teacher that like strikes my mind, and he spoke about it. He was a chemistry teacher, and he said, "Yeah, I'm a religious person, and like a lot of people in the scientific community aren't. But the way I see it is like what's not discovered yet, like you can leave that up to God."
Right.
So I'm not saying I personally believe that, but like I can see like how people
And I don't leave
belief.
it up to God, but I leave it to the unknown.
I say that's where I would say I stand, because like I'm not gonna say science knows everything, but like there's certain things that are like it's proven. What hasn't been proven yet, I'm not gonna give it to somebody that
Right.
You gotta come earn that shit.
Yeah. And like science is a big like people be like, well, science don't got an answer for that. And I'm like, yeah, that's part of science. Science is like we don't know everything.
Yeah, like that's their first. That's like the what's it called, the scientific method. Like that's
Yeah.
like the first thing. Like we don't know everything.
We don't know. So let's do this.
We're gonna
experiment.
try our best and make sure everybody here agrees once we figure something out. But yeah, we don't know.
And like, listen, we've done this thing 2,000 times in a row, and the same thing happens each time. So we're gonna go. This is the law.
Yeah.
But hey, if it doesn't happen at 2001st time,
We changing that shit.
we changing that shit, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, I'm all for that, which gives a lot of room for leeway, and I'm like all for that.
Yeah, because it inspires like new ideas, and I think like a lot of the ideas of the church are kind of like dogmatic and one-sided. Because even like the Catholic Church is saying they're not going to condone gay marriage. Like, you know what I'm saying? How do you know Jesus? You know, I'm not gonna disrespect anyone's religion, but like, how can you just make that unilateral decision?
Jesus was gay as fuck.
I did not say that, y'all.
Listen.
Look at the camera.
All right, listen. I don't know if black Jesus was gay, but I've seen the pictures of white Jesus, and that nigga's gay. And you roll with a bunch of dudes. He got virgins pregnant. I don't know, some gay shit, which is cool. But also,
Sure.
also, the Catholic Church.
Yeah.
Anybody looking to the Catholic Church for any kind of moral guidance, my family's a lot Baptist, a lot Jehovah's Witness. I get mad at my parents to the degree that they still like respect the one preacher who was a robbing preacher, and I'm like, fuck that dude, whatever. But the Catholic Church, like people were like, I'm a devout Catholic, and I'm like, how? How?
I don't believe anybody or trust anybody that believes in something that much. That's kind of
Right.
That's scary,
One, you don't
right?
believe, but like if I am a devout Eagles fan. Mm-hmm. If it was found out
Go
that
Birds.
Go Birds, if they found that 3 Eagles coaches were caught molesting kids and they just moved them to another football team, I'd be like, yo, this whole organization is suspect. They had 3 coaches that they didn't do shit, like unless they cleared out the whole thing, apologized for it, said there was a culture that bred this and all this other shit. I'd be like, fuck this whole organization. The Catholic Church has thousands
yeah.
Thousands.
Yeah. Shit, yeah.
that they've admitted to. That like, yeah, all right, yeah, we knew, we moved here, we moved here, we moved here, we
It
moved
was
here.
not touching Jerry, but they're like
Like, so at some point you got to be like, all right, you know what? I believe in Jesus and I believe in God, but I do believe that this particular organization
It's a little fucked up.
Right, it's very fucked
a little
up.
fucked
Right,
up.
yeah. Like, and until there's a reckoning in that organization in which they go, we got to get rid of every priest, like, because at that point when it's thousands of people, I believe
it's like the scientific method that you start to come to a theory.
right.
Now we have a theory about does the
That-
Catholic Church actually care?
Or no, at this point, if it was a few dozen, I'd be like, oh, they're letting things slide. When it's a few thousand, I go, is this?
Are they teaching them this?
Right. Is this a
in
child
Bishop
molestation organization?
Like, we want to talk about Pizzagate and shit like this, but this is Pizzagate right in front of us, and no one wants to talk about that shit.
There are devout Catholics that'll tell you about Pizzagate.
Yeah.
And they'd be like, yes, I go to my sermon every Sunday, and I can tell you that Joe Biden's fucking these kids. Like, yo, maybe, but also, so is your fucking pastor, like, or whatever they call him, the priest.
Yeah, the priest. Yeah.
Yeah. So like that's a little difficult for me. And there's a lot more that's difficult for me, obviously, but that's obviously difficult.
The main
for
thing.
Me. Right. It's not that's difficult for you in the Catholic Church. That has nothing to do with me arguing with my family about their religion. That's nothing to do with my my cousin with his like little. If we came from monkeys, how come monkeys don't talk? And I'm like, okay, we can have that conversation, but that's not a good argument.
Yeah. Yeah.
We had that conversation down here the other day. The
Yeah,
evolution versus are you an evolutionist
or a creationist?
Yeah.
I'm evolution. I mean, and like, that's the argument people always say, like, well, why don't we look like monkeys today? Or, why ain't monkeys getting up and talking tomorrow?
And I would say go look at Tracy Morgan because that nigga look.
I'm a fan of Tracy Morgan.
I love Tracy Morgan. I think Tracy Morgan's a genius.
Oh, word.
I also just think you look like a gorilla.
Okay. I see that. I can see that point.
There's certain human beings that do look like gorillas. Like, I don't like the comparison of
With
black people to gorillas.
Yeah.
Because I don't think it's just black people. I've seen white people that look like gorillas too. There's that dude. I'm not going to be able to think of what he's in. There's a white dude that looked just like one of the Donkey Kong gorillas. He'd be in mad TV shows. But I'm like, yeah, no, like it's so obvious.
Are you talking about the nigga from The Wire?
Yeah, Herc.
Yeah, Herc. I know exactly.
Yeah.
He's got that
Herc,
that
and then
face.
there's another dude that played his brother on another show, and they look like brothers. And I was like, both of y'all are just Neanderthal ass motherfuckers. So it's not just on black people, but every now and then I see a black person, and I'm like, yo, stop looking like that, because that's why they say that about us, your face. The argument is, I just watched a video of gorillas running out of the rain. And I was like, yeah, that's people.
Yeah, I mean, it's just because it's the kind of idea of like understanding like how evolution actually works versus like how you think it works. And then, yeah, it makes sense why other monkeys and gorillas haven't gotten up and done what we've done.
Right.
Because it's not like, it's not creation. It's not like, all right, I'm going to pick you, and if it works, we're just going to keep rolling with you. It's more like, I'm going to pick one of you, and one of you might get it, one of you might not. whoever wins.
And then it's here. Yeah, you're going
it's
different
like
directions.
in 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Yeah.
That's my idea of that's what I believe in. I'm a huge sci-fi fan, so like
It's a great movie.
yeah.
I kicked your brother out of my apartment the last time I watched that because he walked in and started talking. And I was like, get the fuck out. I'm watching.
Even in a movie with like 61, I think it's like 70 words like on script.
Yeah.
He was talking too much for it.
He was like, oh, actually, so this is about that. I was like, nigga, get out. And then here's my thing about creation. And it's a point that like fucking Dawkins and those other dickheads made, but I still agree with it. I thought this before. If I was creating the perfect being, it would be more perfect than humans.
Yeah. Humans created themselves, how they view yourself in power.
Right.
That's how religion was created. How humans, the way that they model Jesus, are God. Sorry, family. I'm gonna get into it. That's pretty much like how you would picture yourself in power. Like, don't smite me. Don't talk bad about my name. Don't put anyone above me.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give you some rules. Live by it. And if that's good with you, it's good with me. But in reality, like a lot of stuff, it's like, oh, so that's good, but that's not. All right.
Right. And it's the whole like God created me and he created we're all God's creatures. God created us in our image. But he created literally millions of creatures.
Yep.
But he was like, no, you're the most special creature and you're like me. The rest of you niggas is just
Shit out of luck.
Right. And it's like they're like
go get that $40 STEMI and then we could talk. Just broke ass.
Let me see a fish walking around with a stimmy, and he can say that fish is above me.
Yeah.
Like it's none of it like the human dominance of it. Even though we're all God's creations, and even down to the different religions, right? If we're all God's creations, then we're all God's creations, and that goes from the humanness of us to the single-celled organism of us, because He created the earth and He created all of us. Why are we not all God's creatures? Like, why are we not all God's beings?
So like that different religions point, I always say like, so then who's right?
Who's right?
Like, one of y'all niggas gotta be right.
And you would think it might be the oldest one would seem to make the most sense. Like, who's got the oldest religion? Okay, you're closer to it because we're playing Whisper Down the Lane.
Yeah.
Like, God apparently spoke 1 to 7 times in
Different people in various settings. I mean,
in the history of the world, God has picked a few choice niggas to talk to.
Yeah.
And it's like, so we're either supposed to be all like Sumerian or all Mormon. Like, whichever is the oldest or the newest is you can trust. Either He gave the message once and we're playing Whisper Down the Lane to update that message, or He's popping in every now and again to give an updated message.
It's like, hey, nigga, I got something new for y'all.
Yeah, hold on. Remix.
It's like Hov dropping an album. Like, hold on, niggas, hold up. Y'all thought my last shit was hot.
You thought that way? You see the deluxe version.
I teach y'all Mormonism. Yep.
Like, and like that's the only way. Like for me, I am a person of extremes. So that is like for religion, I either respect people who are all the way devout, believe the strictest version of it.
Yeah.
Right. Like if you not blowing up abortion clinics, I'm like, you don't actually believe this. If you.
Are you really a Christian? Like,
right? Are you completely abstinent, not masturbating until you do anything until you get married and blowing up people who don't because that's what God told you to? Or are you being like, nah, I'm a heathen and I'm gonna fuck everything and I'm gonna do whatever the fuck I want? Like that like those are the only options for me, really. Like just your own guided morality or strict adherence to that.
It's like killing for religion, like people that are Christians that go to, I'm gonna fight for God and God pray for our troops. God bless the troops. Don't get me wrong, I love the troops, all that.
I ain't say shit. I love troops. I have troops on here. I love troops individually as human beings. I
was raised in a military family on a military base, so like I have different like kind of understanding and respect for it. To me it's kind of like it's the people in charge that make them get the bad image. It's not.
Yeah, listen, I have mad military family. I do respect military people as individuals.
Yeah.
But I'm so anti-war that it is very difficult for me to go, I know what the military is doing. So while I respect them as individuals and believe that certain individuals are there with a good cause and there for good things and that has done great things for their families even, I know there's ways that my family has personally prospered. I don't think I would be here today sitting here with you, and you might not be here sitting here with me if it wasn't the things that the military had done for our families in certain times.
Yeah, my family go out for iron.
Yeah. So I'm like, all right. So I'm like, I'm there on that, but I'm not going to be like, I ain't, thank you for your service. I ain't one of those. I'm like, thanks for taking that come up. Appreciate it. Yeah.
But yeah, now back to the original point I was saying, it's kind of like, if like God is really universal and loves everybody, like why would He want to pray for one side to win over the other side? Like okay, God wants this guy to kill that guy more than that guy. Yeah. And then like throughout history, it's been justified.
I mean, you can even break that down to fucking football teams. The sports team, they go out and like, we're going to pray to God and we got God on our side. I'm like, you think that other team ain't praying to God over there?
They didn't sing the same prayer that you just said coming out?
And like God sitting there being like, I don't know. I just really want West Texas to win tonight. I'm just saying.
I was like, I got the money line on West Texas. So I'm going to be on their side tonight. I just dropped 40 racks on them.
God's sitting up there being like, I told y'all niggas not to kill. Why you think I'm on either y'all? I made both of y'all. Why the fuck you think no one gave y'all fucking nuclear weapons? I didn't give y'all. I gave y'all mushrooms and weed. What is y'all doing? Like,
if that's the case, then we fucked it all up.
We definitely fucked it. We fucked it. We fucked this whole pooch so hard. I was saying the other day about we sit in offices all day under artificial light and like not we, but like people generally, and they sit in these jobs and they get depressed, and now we got them on medication and they don't know this, and God's sitting down and looking at us, being like, "Yo, nigga, y'all know I made sunlight that makes you feel good if you in it." And did you know that on the ground I just made things there for you. If you just pick them up and eat them, you're gonna feel great. You niggas is making pills in the lab to sit inside under lights. Like, we fucked this pooch all up. He's like, y'all arguing over how many guns you can have, but you can't eat the things that I told you would make you feel. I made those. I said, look, if they make these, they're gonna connect with everything, they're gonna feel good. And he was like, those are illegal, but get an AR-15. We fucked the pooch up. Like,
that's valid.
Yeah.
One can kill you, one can't. One can just open your mind.
One can open your mind and make you be like, what is racism? We're all one. And the other will be like, I just want to kill people. Like, it does. We're so beyond fucked. And and I think if people actually believed in God and was like, yo, God's provided us everything that we need, because factual, everything that we need on this earth is provided for. There is no food crisis. There actually isn't. There is no border crisis. There actually isn't. There is no housing crisis. There actually isn't. There isn't a land crisis even. All of it is like created by us. We created it all. Like, everything that we need is provided on this earth.
It's a system that we've created that, like, it helps keep the powers and be in power, just because, you know, like, when something new comes along, you don't want to lose your power to this new thing. Yeah. So you're always gonna like call it down. Like, no, we've been pumping oil since fucking 1880, but we got to keep doing it here in 2020 because guess what?
That's where my money is.
Yeah, I got to. I need that oil.
No matter how detrimental it is to actually them, you know what I mean?
Worry about getting warm. Fuck that. Just go what?
It's like being in a toxic relationship and staying in it.
Yeah, we're just getting gaslit. We're just fucking getting gaslit this whole time. They're trying to tell us, like, nah, y'all need this oil. Like, y'all need this. I'm like, I don't think I do, but like, he's very convincing.
Hold on. So wait a minute. So you're telling me we got to burn something to make this car go, when there's this other thing that I could do that'll just make it move?
Yeah, okay, all right, boom.
Right. And so I always say I never believe in God more than when I eat like a strawberry or like something that just like grows out of the ground that tastes great.
Right.
And I'm like, this tastes perfect for my mouth. Like, nothing that we can make, do, or whatever is going to taste better than this thing that just grew out of the ground.
And now I'm enjoying it.
And I'm like, that to me is the closest I get to God. Is like this natural thing that just comes to me that is perfect. And then when I go like, well, we do so much to stray from that, that I don't. That's where I don't understand.
Yeah, I think that's kind of like where I found like my disinterest from, was just like a lot of the hypocrisy. I just couldn't, get behind still. Granted, like, you have people always say that aren't really, they're religious, but like they're in the church, like you have to find your own connection. And I think like that's something important. And like, that's like your own connection is like, when you find that fresh thing, like that's the closest thing you feel to like natural earth. You know what I'm saying? So like, I see exactly what you mean.
All right. Kanye. Part 3, Yeezy.
This is the part I'm waiting for.
This is the part I'm always waiting for. It's my favorite part of God. It's the whole point. I don't give a fuck about your politics or your religion. I only give a fuck about your goddamn Kanye. I give a fuck about both because they're equally combined.
Yes,
please.
And it's gonna touch. My opinion is gonna touch on all aspects that we've already discussed.
That's the whole point of this podcast, is that it is all related. Everything comes back to Ye.
Full circle.
So you were just saying, you was about to say. You said you had a Kanye thing. You was like, you sent an email, some shit.
Oh no! Because when we just shot that commercial the other day, and
the law office of Aston Wallace coming soon.
Call Aston. But yeah, we shot
the real commercial. I'm really a lawyer.
Yeah, we shot the commercial the other day, and then you had the audio on your computer, and I was like, "Yo, just email it to me." And the first email you sent was a folder of just like all these Kanye leaks.
Oh yeah.
And I downloaded it, and like I started going through, and I was like, "Are one of these like the audio file?" And then I went back to my email, and it's the next one. Like, I don't know how it happened, but yeah, I have like that whole folder with like all that music, all the stuff you've been allegedly downloading. Allegedly.
Yeah. I was sending you the first email, and the last email that I sent was that email to somebody, and I was like, oh, Ash would probably want this too. And
Gotcha.
so I just sent that over to you.
Now he
yeah.
has some context and clarity. Because I was like, maybe he just like clicked on the wrong folder and like.
I was like, oh, he probably want that.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah. So Kanye, what do you got to ask me about Kanye?
Well, I mean, it's big times for Kanye, and in this podcast, a lot has been happening with Kanye. But in the last few weeks, Kanye's gotten divorced. Kanye has again, been claimed to have been. He hasn't claimed personally, but the streets have claimed that he is now the richest black man in America. On this podcast, I've said several times that he is the second richest black man in America.
Behind who?
Some investor nigga, I don't know that nigga name.
He probably makes like matchbooks or something.
Yeah,
like that.
some dude just lay back and just count his money. And it's like, don't bring my name up. So I don't bring that nigga name up. If he want his press, I'll give him his press, but he don't want it. But now Kanye, and I'll say this. So they said he's the second richest black man in America, and I've traced it because I call it nigga news. It's so bad. It was a Bloomberg News report that said Gap and Kanye hope for the Gap deal to be a $1 billion venture. And it was their hopes for what the deal would do. And I think Complex was the first one I saw do it, but a bunch of other like hip hop labels like the Gap deal's worth $1 billion. It puts Kanye over this and And I saw the two stories. Like I see the discrepancy between the two stories. So I understand Forbes now is pulling back and going, Kanye's only worth.
Yeah, for that. I was talking about the 6.6 billion that just came out. Yeah. Forbes is pulling back on that. Honestly, I haven't looked too deep in it. I was just because to me when I first saw it, I was like skeptical, but I was like, I mean, whatever. Good for him. That's what I was thinking. Like I'm not gonna look too deep in it.
Right.
Whatever. But like I was skeptical just because like how did he go from being in debt a few years ago to now he's worth 6.6 billion? And the only really deal I could like the Yeezy brand like the biggest part of his portfolio, and like I know a lot of niggas wear Yeezys, but is it $6.6 billion worth of niggas wearing Yeezys?
Well, all right, I'll go a couple things on this. One, with bankruptcy or debt, it means a different thing in the world of wealth than it does to us.
It just means what you owe. It doesn't mean what you have.
Right. So he's like, all right, he might have taken all these loans, he might owe this money, he might have been talking all that shit, but it means a different thing than if I'm like, hey, I owe niggas $54.
Yeah.
And then a few weeks later, I'm like, I got $1,000. And you'd be like, well, did you pay that nigga back?
I'm like, yeah, what traps did you just bust?
Right. So that's like a different thing. And I learned that lesson first from Donald Trump. Like I remember as a kid, the first time Donald Trump declared bankruptcy and me being like, Donald Trump in my mind being the richest person in the world. Like he's like Richie Rich to me when I was a kid. Like I just thought he was the richest person ever because everything was gold and whatever. And then he was bankrupt and I was like, hey, Dad, like, and my dad was like, oh, no, like, it's different for rich people. That just means you don't got to pay the debts he has.
Yeah, or at all.
Right.
In some cases.
Yeah. So, like, that's like one thing for me. Two, nobody questions Mark Zuckerberg's valuation. Elon Musk's valuation shifts by tens of $billions by the week, sometimes to the day. Shifts based on like what the market projects that your thing is worth, right?
Right.
So like literally like a few weeks ago, Elon Musk was the richest person in the world because his stock valuation went up, and so that changed his valuation. And then a few weeks later, it went down a little bit. Amazon's went up, and now Jeff Bezos is the richest person. And they're literally going like, oh, well, he's got 10 billion more now. Oh, now he's got 10 billion more now, or 10 billion more less. And so Kanye's shift is less than that, and it's based on real deals. So I'm like, why when it comes to Kanye, these valuations aren't legitimate, whereas where they're applied to other people, the valuations are more legitimate.
What I would say is just like, and I'm honestly new to the stock market. Like this year, a lot of the platforms that have been coming out lately, it makes it a lot easier for people that don't know shit to like kind of get a few ideas. Like they even said like this is like the most young black investors ever in like history. So with that, I would say like someone like Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, like their stock is traded on the market. So like you can see like you said, as the value of the stock goes up and down, their wealth goes up and down because also too, like you were saying, like net worth and wealth like that is not like how much money you have in the bank account. It's your assets.
Right.
So if I own 1,000 stocks of Amazon, and I literally did the math from the start of the pandemic to now, the amount that the stock of Amazon has gone up, and like you can see how many shares he has. He's increased his net worth, $84 billion in 1 year.
Right.
He don't got $84 billion in his pocket. He just, the value of the stocks that he holds went up. Now, the reason, like I said, I don't really know too much about the Kanye thing is because, like, what's the value of, like, Gap stocks? And, like, how much has that gone up? And, like, is it Yeezy making a direct influence? And, like, what's Yeezy being sold under? What? And then it goes in, like, what's the profit margins? And I'm not saying I don't trust a nigga because I'm always going to give a nigga benefit of the doubt. You feel me? That's what I said when I first read the article. I was like, you know what? I don't know, but good for him. I seen this tweet. It was like, yo, Yeezy's the first nigga to ever leave his baby mom, become the richest nigga in the world. I salute him. And I was like, I'm with that.
Here's like my biggest thing. Black people, we supposed to be like as Hope said, what's better than one black billionaire too?
Yeah.
Especially when what's better than one billionaire too? Especially when they same hue as you.
Yeah.
Now here comes Kanye.
Mm-hmm.
Same hue as me.
Mm-hmm.
Making music that I've loved my whole life. Talking shit that I've loved my whole life.
Make music my whole life. Ask him not to stop you.
Not my whole life.
My whole life.
Your
too.
whole life, yes. Your whole life. Even
I'm saying no. It stopped. Kanye, what? I'm gonna say it here.
You're saying the music stopped?
Kanye West doesn't make good music anymore.
Did you listen to the fucking shit I sent you, my nigga?
I didn't because
okay.
Yo, honestly, morally, and this is when it gets into the music part. Morally, I cannot listen to his music, and also sonically, his music is not good anymore. Like it's just average. Like he gets by on so much mediocrity. Like the last Kanye album I listened to was The Life of Pablo. I'm just being honest, and like I'll be around people, so like I'll hear tracks.
And Life of Pablo's a classic.
Life of Pablo's, as I'm saying, it's great.
Okay,
but it goes back, like I said, it brings everything full circle. The politics thing after that, when he started like supporting Trump, and I'm all for one, like voicing your opinion or whatever, but like when he started getting into the political sphere, he was speaking about things like he had no clue about. He said, "Oh, this is my feeling, so I believe it to be true," which is dangerous because you're speaking to an entire culture of people, and your voice is powerful. So now you're spewing lies to the people. What am I listening to your music for? I listen to Kanye's music because it was political, it was conscious, it was thoughtful, and not just that, his production was out of this world. So now, like after that, it became like, well, I'm just not gonna listen to his music because it's not gonna do the same thing for me. And then like when I finally did hear snippets here and there, it's just like, okay.
Okay, so clearly we started this on me sending you a whole bunch of unreleased Kanye music, of which you did not listen to. Nope. And if you didn't listen to it, it is the first disc of the Kanye music. It's Drake. Mm-hmm. It's unreleased Drake music too. It's two unreleased.
Yeah, I listen to that Drake shit too.
No, that's not good. You listen to Drake shit, not the Ye shit. The first disc of Ye shit it's the Yandhi album that never got released.
Listen to it.
It is the Jesus is King tracks before he Jesus them up. So all the like Selah, Use This Gospel. It's not even Use This Gospel. It's got a whole different lyrics to it. He scrapped good music. Mm-hmm. Good music. He scrapped it to make all this like Christian shit. Mm-hmm. But he can still make good music.
Does it live up to the Late Registration?
Late Registration is the second best album of all time. What you talking about? Do it live up to Late Registration? No, it ain't Late Registration.
What about My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy? Does it live up to that?
That's the greatest album. What's one of the greatest albums of all time?
What about Yeezus?
Nigga, that was the groundbreaker. Listen.
This is the point I'm trying to make, people. And like, yo, it's not even a thing.
I want to tell me the artist that you expect their 9th album to be as good as their best album.
The Rock.
Shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up.
Jigga Man.
First of all, Ho's best album is his first album. First of all, Ho's best album is his first album. Hov peaked on his first album, and then he goes down a little bit, up a little bit, down a little bit. No, stays even.
So you're putting you're gonna put Reasonable Doubt above the Blueprint?
I'll put for sure, easily. easily.
See, like that's something I'm not even gonna argue. That's just opinion, and like that's
No,
like,
that's not even an opinion.
That's
there
opinion
are
'cause
songs.
they're neck and neck.
There's
Like,
songs on the Blueprint that if you listen to them now, they're corny. There are songs
Like
that on the
what?
Blueprint that are, I think.
yeah, let's get this track.
I
list
think
up.
Girls, Girls, Girls is a little corny.
Ooh, you think Aston? You do think Girls, Girls, Girls is corny?
I think it's a good song. I think it's a great song. But does it hold up to me the way that every single track on Reasonable Doubt does? And I get it. You wasn't born when Reasonable Doubt came out, so you don't know that shit. But Reasonable Doubt.
Actually, I was born. I was about 8 months old. So
I just wanted to talk some shit. Oh God.
they put that shit in my crib. They're just blasting like, yo, you need to get on this.
Yo,
jigger.
like honestly, like a lot of these Johns is like they classics, but they don't hold up the way that Reasonable Doubt do.
That's an opinion.
Izzo got a tinge of corny to it now.
Let me see. What else you got on here?
Like
Song
they don't.
Heart of the City. You don't know Jigga That Nigga?
Bro, I'm
Takeover?
telling you, they don't. You listen to Blueprint for nostalgia. You listen to Reasonable Doubt because it's still a thorough album.
Yeah, it's great. And like honestly too, like that's because Jay made a business decision after Reasonable Doubt. Because Reasonable Doubt debuted not that good. And ended up picking up steam after he dropped.
He made a
his second
business
album,
decision
like, The Times
after
One.
Volume 2. Volume 1, really.
Volume 1, yeah. So after Reasonable Doubt, he was giving these deep, lyrical, intricate metaphors. Like The Evils, like, I'm kidnapping your baby mom. Like, what the fuck? Like,
Yeah.
the whole story that he tells in that second verse is unbelievable. Mm-hmm. And then he started going a little more mainstream, but he's still spitting bars. Like, the story that he tells in Girls, Girls, or the stories that he tells in 99 Problems. It's more palatable to, like, the mainstream audience, but...
It's more
still-
palatable to the mainstream audience, but Jay-Z's most thorough, most authentic, best album is Reasonable Doubt. Reasonable Doubt. Period.
And that's what I'm saying. Like,
And even if we're talking about Blueprint, we ain't talking about Magna Carta Holy Grail,
Nah.
which is
the bottom. But then he came back with 444.
and 444 is a real good old nigga album. It's a great old nigga album. It's real. It's right. It's an old nigga album. That's an old nigga with lessons, and you like, yo, this is good. Like, I'm an old nigga, so I listened to it. And I was like, yeah, I should have bought art too. Yeah, I should have done this too. But it's not. So now I'm supposed to hold Kanye, who dropped a classic album on his 8th album,
Which is
Pablo.
Okay.
So he drops a classic album there.
Yep.
Then this nigga find Jesus and do all his weird shit and go on his weird shit. And in the time that he dropped Gay and fuck you if you go and tell me that Kids See Ghosts isn't a great album.
Kids See Ghosts is great because of Kid Cudi, but the production is
But
good.
it's still
production
great.
is good.
Production's good,
And
right? So it's
how much is
Kanye
that
making
Cudi trying to say like, yo, and then even like the Pusha T shit he did.
Great.
Tiana Taylor's album he did that year.
I liked Tiana Taylor's album.
It was mad good. All those albums were fire.
He produced produced 5 of those at the same time.
I'm saying
So
this.
We gonna say he can't produce good music still?
I didn't say that. I
Okay.
said Kanye albums I'm not tuning into anymore. Do I want to listen to an album where the first line is I thought about killing myself? I thought about killing you today, but I like myself way
I
more.
thought that was one of the most honest intros I've ever heard on an
It's
album.
honest, but if you tell it to your psychiatrist, they're gonna call the cops because that's a premeditated
Yeah, but
idea.
like, all right, and here's the thing, and this is what I do like about where Kanye was at that time, and this is what he said when he was saying all the shit that we all say is irresponsible. We spend too much time measuring what we say. We're worried about if I say this, how are people going to feel this? And I'm a person who I like people reach out to me for like all sorts of weird shit, right? Like people like reach out to me on suicides, law shit, like da 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 da. And people reach out with feelings that I think are normal, that they feel aren't normal. And because they feel them and no one else is saying that they feel them, it's more jarring to them, right? We guard a lot of shit that we actually feel. And Kanye went through this phase of going, I am going to tell you what I feel, whatever the consequences.
So
because we lose so much in measuring what we say.
So is it okay for Trump to call it the China virus? He feels that way.
That's not what he feels. He's got a joke on that. That's not what he feels.
Back to the politics in the beginning too. Like this is something I just thought of. I feel like the main difference between Trump and Bush is like Trump really feels that way about all the shit that he did, all the things that he said. He like low key, deep down, feels that way. Bush was just an idiot that got talked into a lot of shit.
I don't think Trump feels the way about half of the things that he said. Trump isn't a Christian. Trump isn't. I don't even.
Oh no, not. I'm talking about the fucked up things he said,
The
not
fucked up
the
things that he
positive
says,
things,
right,
the
right.
faux positive.
But I
things
think
he
I think a lot of things that he said come from knowing that his base felt that way, and know that's what he has to do to stir them up.
So why can't they relate to Kanye? Because now it's Kanye's crazy. Kanye's gone past the point, and before, like, okay, so I guess this boils down like to my main point. Before Kanye was controversial because he was getting on live TV and saying George Bush doesn't care about black people, which is something that everybody knew, and it was a fact. Like, how you gonna wait 4 days to go send help to a city that's underwater? But like,
Again, what did Kanye say before he said George Bush doesn't care about black people?
him and Michael Myers were talking about something. I just remember like,
Right, he was talking about how he went shopping after he heard about Katrina and how it took him a while to respond to it and how he was on some fuck shit and that he was so disconnected from the struggles of other people that how it fucked him up, that he said the first thing he went to do after he heard about Katrina was go shopping, and how fucked up that was. That's what he spent 2 minutes talking about before he came back and said George Bush doesn't care about black people.
that's an interesting point because honestly, I haven't seen that full part of the clip in so long. But like, that just makes me think like that was him in 06 or whatever 05 that happened. That was 05. Him thinking that like I'm so disconnected from people I can't feel their pain. And then come 16 years later, you were married to the Kardashians, one of the most isolated families ever, and now you're spewing this bullshit. But also, it's like on brand for his personality. But I just think like he lost his connection to the things that he was really trying to say and like the people that he was really trying to reach. Now he's just trying to do things for shock value.
I also don't think Kanye. For shock value, maybe. And I told you've heard the whole theory about the performance art of it and all the things that he tweeted beforehand.
No.
Okay, well, he tweeted like right before he put the Trump hat on. He tweeted David Hammond's Spade art project, which was David Hammond's. It was part of Sullivan Nation. David Hammond's his whole project was called Spade, and it was taking racist images and flipping them on themselves. And so he would like take all these different racist images and try to flip them. So Kanye, before he puts on the hat, the days before he puts on the hat, he tweets three things. David Hammond, who's got the hat, he flips racist images. The other one is this fucking French artist, and I can never remember his name, but his project, he locked himself in a room with a coyote, which the coyote represents the wildness of America.
Did you have to fight the coyote ever? Or like,
Yeah, so it's cool, the pictures. He's like wrapped in like a cloak and shit, and he's just like still in the room, and he's trying to like calm the coyote, and he thinks like basically like the coyote represents the wildness in America, and he's trying to like be in a room with the wildness of America a few hours a day, and he's trying to calm the coyote being in the room. So that's the second thing that Kanye tweets is that project from him, and then the third thing he tweets Andy Kaufman, who's like super performance artist.
Yeah.
And then the next day he goes out, he puts on the hat and goes, "I love Trump." Which is being like three things. Like, here's the racist image that I'm going to flip, which he constantly talked about. Like, I am trying to redefine what the image of this is. And the whole time that was when he was deep in his Christian shit, and he was like, I love Jesus and I love everybody. And I also love Donald Trump, which he said several times. Like, I love everybody and I love Donald Trump too. Who's the most hated person? My wife said I can't do this. And I said, why? Because this is the person I hate the most. So I'm going to go love the person that everyone hates the most. And then the third thing is like Andy Kaufman, performance artist.
But see, that goes back to my point of like being disconnected, because in him trying to create this art and like give this message, he supported a platform that was completely against everyone that got him to where he is. So like, in a sense, you can say Kanye supporting Trump helped Trump do the things that he did.
It didn't. So it didn't help Trump do anything. He didn't support Trump on the run up to his election. He didn't support Trump on the run up to his re-election. He pulled out before the re-election campaign started, and he got in after the campaign was done. He literally, strategically, maybe, I think, made sure he was not present for Trump and had rescinded all of his support for Trump prior to the election process and did not start his support for Trump. In fact, was donating money to Hillary Clinton before it. Yeah. And opened up a conversation between us to go, well, do we need to be Democrats? Are Democrats doing this for us? Are Democrats doing this for us? Whatever.
Which is definitely a dialogue that needs to be had. But what always runs in my mind is one that first TMZ interview where the dude where he talks about slavery was a choice, and then the second one after where they're trying to ask him about policy and things like that, and it's just like you can tell like he clearly doesn't understand the policies, like the difference between like being a Democrat and being a Republican. He's doing it just because he feels, okay, this is anti, so I'm gonna go the other way and show you how this can be cool too.
Right, and I think that's wrong, but I think that I can't fault him for being wrong there necessarily because the entire Black Republican movement, I think, is wrong on the same logical fallacy.
For sure.
And the logical fallacy is there are two sides. You can only be one or the other. And I can convince you, I can convince anybody in an hour that the Democrat Party isn't there to support them. And if they don't think they have anywhere to run but to the other side, that's where they're going to go. And Kanye fell for that. And I hate that. I do hate that. And there's been a lot of times that I saw him just talking nonsense that the things that he was saying, I knew the source from it because I know who the fuck he was listening to. And I'd be like, oh no, that's their philosophy. That's
their talking points, yeah.
But that's him just being wrong, right?
Yeah.
And I don't consider that being more wrong than somebody going out and supporting the Democrats and yelling at me about like, oh, well, they droned all these kids and they did this. I'm not looking to any celebrity
for political advice. No, that's 100% facts. But at the same time, people aren't looking to them for advice and things like that. But you have this platform, and once you use your voice, you have to be cognizant of the things you say and like the ramifications of it. And then when people tell you you're wrong for it and you should look at this, look at that, and look at that to like try to formulate your opinion better, and you shut it down and you don't want to do it, you double down on your anti because people spoke out against me. I'm not going to listen to you. I'm just going to double down. That's where I feel like it gets kind of wrong because
but he didn't just double down. When they started going hard, Candace Owens was in his shit about a bunch of stuff. Mm-hmm. He pulled back from her and he made a public statement. And he goes, "Listen, I feel like these people have used me. I feel like they've tried to use my name for certain things. They've tried to manipulate me, and I'm pulling myself away from these. I'm pulling back from politics. This isn't how I feel." He did those things. Mm-hmm. He actually did like pull back, and I still don't know that he's in the best. Like I think Kanye West is a musical genius. I think he's even a business genius and all this other stuff. But I don't put him above me politically in thinking. Like if we was talking about like how to make an album, I'd be like, all right, great. But if Kanye's talking about me about policy, I'd be like, well, listen, we're on the same plane at the very least.
I think like it just always. The two always correlate for me with Kanye because, like, my earliest memories are Kanye being political, and the music always tied back into being political. Even if it wasn't directly political, he was speaking about the subtle injustices, like, how you gonna tell me to get a job today? I can't even get a raise in the minimum wage. And then you go to talk about, like, bleach on your asshole, like, It's a huge difference in mentality and like thought process. Which at the same time, like I said, I love Life of Pablo. I'm not trying to come up with that long that song because it's a great song.
And St. Pablo is great on there.
Yeah, but like I said, it's that subtle difference in mindset, which kind of me like take a step back and until like he came back to my side. I'm not gonna listen unless he's on my side. But like if you're gonna, because it's not like he was coming from an informed position before, where like he was in these struggles and seeing
Kanye was never, and I want to stress this, he has never been informed. And he has told you the whole time he is not informed. He said, I don't read books. I don't read, like, the most poignant statement I've ever heard from Kanye came after the first TMZ interview. He did another TMZ interview, and the guy asked him a question. And Kanye said, I'm learning to say, let me go look into that. And he was like, I was trying to just speak freely, but I've learned to say, if there's something that someone asks me that I don't know about, to say, let me go look into that. And that is his whole career.
What you're talking about. Yeah. And like, that's my point. You know what I'm saying? Like so what you're telling me is like, before you're just spewing shit without even knowing, But the difference is the shit that he was spewing before that interview, and it's not about partisanism because I don't give a fuck about me. I'm a registered independent. I don't subscribe to either party. I subscribe to what I think is the best option at that time. But to me, I feel like you're more around these people that grew up the same way you did. Like you're more involved in your community. Like even like going back to the what's the Eel Knievel video? Touch the Sky, Touch the Sky. Yeah. And then like he's talking with Nia Long and what's her name? Damn, I can't think of her name.
Nia Long, yeah.
Not Diana's daughter. What's her name?
Diana Ross's daughter?
Yeah, the one that's on Blackish.
Oh, Tracy Ellis Ross.
Tracy Ellis Ross. Yeah, it was Tracy Ellis Ross and Nia Long, and he's like, "Oh, you gonna leave me? You got on now? You gonna leave me for a white girl? What about that?" Like, you know what I'm saying? Like he was cognizant of these things before he was doing them because that was part of his environment. But once he got taken away from that environment, you still have the same person that wants to speak about the things that he feels and cares about. And yeah, he might have not been reading books then, but he was talking to the nigga on the street that was like, yeah, like this is fucked up. Right. That's fucked up. Now you're talking to these millionaires, billionaires that are surrounded by the Kardashians, and that's when you start saying things like, maybe slavery was a choice. Well, you see like the inherent difference of like.
I'm going to say I still most days go that I want to tweet slavery was a choice.
And you want to?
I want to retweet it. I don't think it was wrong. I think as we watch people...
slavery, like chattel slavery.
No, not chattel slavery. But that's not what he was talking about. He wasn't talking about chattel slavery.
Wasn't
he is talking about the mind state that we're in is slavery. And every day that I see people go, well, look, he gave us $1,400. Oh, but he gave us this. And I was like, and I go, well, nigga, this is what the fuck he was talking about. Like us just accepting whatever. And it's the only way it makes sense to me for him to go apply it to your current life. Because to him to just say slavery was a choice is the stupidest statement ever. It's dumb.
So like, all right, because I watched that. It's been so long. We had so much bullshit years of Trump. Like, I was talking to my homie the other day. Like, sometimes like these stories you hear are just so fucked up, but you gotta like just try to find, something in it that doesn't make you just want to just be dreadful all day. I've forgotten like the exact gist of all these interviews, but I just know how my opinion was formed because of them. So I'd have to go back and watch some of these because like. Honestly, like the way I felt that, the way I feel now, I'm talking like Kanye now, the way I feel that he was talking about what he meant in that interview, he felt like slavery inherently was a choice.
All right, tell the people where they can find you at.
So yeah, now that I've just spent the last hour or so slandering Kanye,
hour plus
politics and religion, you can find me at Asher Kai. That's ASHERKA, 3 eyes. 3 eyes for the third eye, because we woke out here.
Stay woke, my niggas.
We are woke.
Yeah. And I've been Aston Wallace. It's the FPRK Radio Podcast. You can find us at FPRK Radio on Instagram and other things. You can find me at Fast Ramon on everything. And follow me on YouTube at Aston Wallace. And we'll catch you next week.
Damn, thanks for having me.
All right. Peace.
Don't hit me for free shit.
No free shit, but watch my commercial. Law Office Aston Wallace. Peace.